The death of Freddie Gray was a national tragedy, deserving a national conversation. A year after the death of Freddie Gray, the glare of television cameras covering the ensuing unrest has faded in Baltimore, but the hurt and the continuing effort to heal remain. In the 12 months since Freddie Gray's death, Americans have long overdue conversations about racially biased policing, poverty in cities across America, the lack of access to quality education, the scarcity to safe and affordable housing. These conversations have been translated into meaningful action by Baltimore City residents, community leaders, and lawmakers at every level. Faith groups, community organizations, the business community, and many other groups who love and understand the limitless potential of our city have stood up and articulated their vision on how to build a stronger Baltimore. The death of Freddie Gray was yet another painful reminder of the problems we have in our criminal justice system. I'm a strong supporter of the independence of our judicial branch of government and the grand jury system, but I think all of us understand the frustration when there were no criminal indictments brought in the Trayvon Martin case, the Michael Brown case, the Eric Gardner case, and far too many examples across America. I've been working for years to address problems in our criminal justice system. In the days following the death of Freddie Gray and the ensuing unrest, I called on the Justice Department to open federal criminal and civil investigations into Freddie Gray's death. On April 21, 2015, I was joined by Representative John Conyers in reintroducing the End Racial Profiling Act legislation I originally introduced before the tragic death of Trayvon Martin. As Baltimore emerged from the unrest, I met with community leaders to discuss legislative responses to help heal Baltimore's physical wounds and how to address many of the core problems that underpin the unrest. I met with a pharmacy owner whose store had been looted. I visited a senior center that was damaged. I spoke with residents in East and West Baltimore. I visited Freddie Gray's elementary school to hear from teachers and community leaders about what tools they require from the federal government to better meet the needs of students. In the weeks following the unrest, I went back and forth from Baltimore City to the Senate and the White House, relaying the needs of Baltimoreans to my colleagues and top Obama administration officials. I was joined by the Maryland congressional delegation, my colleague and friend, Senator Mikulski, one of the great leaders on this issue, and members of our city delegation, Congressman Cummings, Congressman Rubersberger, and Congressman Sarbanes. Congress and the federal government responded and continues to respond. I welcome the announcement that the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division will open a federal pattern or practice investigation of the Baltimore Police Department. This was just one way to help restore the eroded trust between communities and police. To further this effort, I introduced the Baltimore Act. The Baltimore Act is comprised of 4 titles. Title I deals with law enforcement reform. The Baltimore Act places bans on racial profiling by state and local law enforcement, mandatory data collection and reporting, and available grants. It requires local law enforcement officials receiving burn, JAG, and COPS hiring program funds to submit officer training information to the Department of Justice, including how their officers are trained in the use of force, countering racial and ethnic bias, de-escalating conflicts, and constructive engagement with the public. It requires the Department of Justice report on a plan to assist state and local law enforcement agencies to improve training in use of force, identifying racial and ethnic bias, and conflict resolution through course of officers' career. The Department of Justice shall develop field training program policies and examine ways to partner with national law enforcement organizations to promote consistent standards for high-quality training and assessment. The department shall also provide a report that contains best practices, model policies, and training toolkits. The Department of Justice will derive action plans for helping law enforcement agencies upgrade their IT systems to submit arrests and officers involved in shooting data. And lastly, under Title I, it establishes a pilot program to assist local law enforcement in purchasing or leasing body-worn cameras, which requires privacy study. So we have a comprehensive section that deals with law enforcement. Title II deals with voting rights and civil rights restoration. The Baltimore Act restored the rights to vote for all citizens after prison sentence is served, returning citizens the right to vote. It also restores eligibility to sit on federal juries after prison sentences have been served. In Title III, we deal with sentencing law reform, what many colleagues in this chamber have been championing. It reclassifies specific low-level, nonviolent drug possession felonies as misdemeanors, eliminating the distinction between crack and powder cocaine for sentencing, and require fair weight for food products. In Title IV, we deal with reentry and employment law reform. It's critically important that people have an opportunity once they come out of incarceration. I don't think there's a member of this chamber who hasn't had a second chance. Well, this allows nonprofits to apply for second chance grants. It authorizes $200 million annually for the Labor Department's Reentry Employment Opportunities Program. It's a sense of Congress that the administration should ban the box for hiring on federal contractors. Baltimore's congressional delegation has been fighting to ensure federal resources are made available to help the city residents prosper. In the days following the unrest, the Small Business Administration established disaster loan outreach centers in Baltimore to help local owners who have been impacted by the unrest. The Justice Department has also provided assistance in the form of the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grants to help defray the costs of policing during the unrest and to help local law enforcement better safeguard communities from violent crime. The Department of Education's project, School Emergency Response to Violence (SERVE) program has given resources to the Baltimore City Public Schools to help students recover from the trauma associated with the unrest. The Environmental Protection Agency pledged funding to help convert vacant lots into gardens that foster a sense of community and increase public and environmental health. Other Obama administration initiatives like My Brother's Keeper continue to give communities the tools they need to foster long-term positive change. These are only a small portion of the federal government's ongoing commitments to the people of Baltimore City. I'm proud of the federal government stepping up to help Baltimore so that Baltimore can reach its full potential. Baltimore is my home. What followed the death of Freddie Gray was one of the most difficult days in the city's history. 1 year later, Baltimore is transforming with the help of ordinary citizens, the business community, and a slew of nonprofits making measurable impact. I've always been honored to represent the people of Baltimore. And as long as I still have that honor, I will continue to make sure that the federal government is an active partner in empowering the city of Baltimore to reach its full potential. In the years since the death of Freddie Gray, we've made progress in building a more just America by investing in Baltimore. Let us continue to build upon that progress.